given more responsibility to the classroom teachers who are already managing the 20 and 30 students is not feasible. Primary and intermediate schools provide the foundation in which our children build all of their learning on. By not giving them resources to enable them to read at or above their proficient levels, you are setting up the majority of our children to struggle and even go through their CE education experience. These reading and math specialty teachers are a necessity and might need to remain allocated or be allocated to maintain the support of our youngest students. Thank you. Break down those learning barriers with those individuals who need it the most. It's fundamental, especially at the ages where they are most absorbed, most willing to learn and to advance and to improve on themselves. And it is kind of disheartening for someone. I have a first grader as well as a middle schooler. And my middle schooler right now is taking the PSSA in reading, in math. And I'm hearing from every outlet from the school how important this is. Write a letter to your child to let them know that they're doing a fantastic job on their PSSA because it's so important to the school. Here's raffle tickets to show up, have everything, and be ready for your PSSA because it is just such an important task. But when you take away these fundamental learning and assisting at such a young age, what is that going to do when they hit middle school, when they are in intermediate school, as they advance through their secondary and advanced education if they don't have it? When I'm an elderly person, are we going to have a bunch of people in our community that are just not as advanced as they could be because we're taking away their resources, we're taking away their support, we're taking away that one-on-one ability of helping them be set up to succeed in life as an individual. In addition, within our and for our primary school, as the employer of our teacher, it's not fair to overload all of our specialists. We actually should be advocating to add more than 3, to add more counselors, instead of fighting to keep what we have, because they are overworked. We have a school, primary school, 900 kids. There's just 3 right now. There's a lot of kids that need assistance. And you can't, now we're looking at some kids, I need a little bit of assistance to focus on the ones who need the most. But we should be there helping everyone as much as we can. In addition, that overload is just making it a toxic environment for someone as an employee. What's going to make them want to stay in CD and help advance our community and our students if they have better opportunities in other districts that would have more support and advocate for them more than they would in this district? So with our teacher shortage, I know we have teachers who are already maxed out on their subbing for their work. They're already maxed out. School's not over. My son will have 20 different subs teachers during the day at 20-minute times. There's just not enough people. And this is just another way to push all of those candidates in their excellence. Thank you.
I reached out to the teacher and asked, are you guys aware, or, is something being done? Obviously, they can't tell me much because of privacy issues, but they said they were aware that these things take time. So imagine being in school for a little over 2 months and still not having the support that you need. I do believe that they did get the help that they needed, but that's with the current staff that we have now. So if you're looking to cut, when would that child get their help that they need? Would it be, the end of the year? And at that point, what's the point? I think that we need to increase what we have, not decrease. And I think that you have to realize that this affects all children. It didn't affect my child directly, but it did because that's all they fixated on was their poor friend who was green. Thank you.
Julia Yudovich.
I'm Julia Goodrich. I live at 1706 Larson Drive. I'm going to ask you to forgive the brevity and the informality of my message, but I hope that it's received with the importance that it's meant to. Cutting support, specifically at the primary school, where children are tasked with the important job of learning to read, is going to have lasting and possibly devastating and detrimental impacts on the children of our community. There's no doubt about it. Not only on the children who are struggling readers, but also on the children who deserve enrichment. Classroom teachers are going to be tasked with differentiating and meeting the needs of all of those learners then. During a time in that day, with class sizes that are already slightly too large, during a time in their day that's meant to be a multi-tiered system of support. Multi-tiered. Now you're taking a single specialist for almost 900 students for a multi-tiered system of support. I'm not understanding how one MTSS specialist is meant to be a substitute for a multi-tiered system of support. And why one single individual is meant to be a specialist for almost 900 students. Additionally, with such a high number of students listed as economically disadvantaged, are there federal funds under the Title I Act that can be used for more specialists, like MTSS, another specialist? There are others who utilize Title I money for specialists. How's that better than?
Piggybacking on the other MTSS folks, I can't believe I actually have to be standing here saying this, but with regard to the potential reassigning of MTSS teachers at the primary and intermediate school levels, I find it grossly irresponsible and a detriment to the future development of many students, as everyone has said, who are already in need of help. I'm acutely aware of our current budget and deficit situation. But did we really raise taxes only to tell people that they're getting less value added where it matters the most to the classroom? We always cut at the elementary level. When was the last time you heard that the high schools cut But I see money getting poured into the upper class levels and obviously diverted away from the lower levels. Take a look. I see that this is yet another attempt at not hiring more teachers, bottom line. If we need more teachers, we need to hire more teachers. Since my son, who's currently in 7th grade, entered the district, we've cut the Spanish program at the primary level school level, so those teachers could become kindergarten teachers. That program was never reestablished, by the way, and it also made us competitive with neighboring districts in their curriculum. We don't have any anymore. We attempted to furlough teachers twice since he's entered the district. We've increased class size significantly. We reduced resources for teachers, including their budgets for their yearly supplies. We rearranged everyone under the sun, from principals, down to teachers. Every time I talk to my kids, their special classes didn't happen because somebody had to cover another class. This is just what I know due to personal experience. This is, not even diving deep into some, research. Taking away educational resources is not the way it goes district ever. Taking them from our youngest and most vulnerable is never the answer. And I'll leave you with a comment from a parent friend who couldn't make it tonight, who stated, "I can't come tonight, but without NTSS, my child wouldn't be at the reading level she's at now. She struggled so much, and NTSS is a godsend."
The MTSS teachers in the primary school. And I am aware that there is discussion in the budget about cutting MTSS teachers down to one per building. But I don't believe that many of you understand the importance of having more than one MTSS teacher in a building of 900 students between the ages of 5 and 8 years old. This is where our reading resources should be the most intensive in order for students to build a solid foundation in reading. Pulling the support from our youngest learners is wrong. And it's disheartening to me as an educator because we know what they need and we see what they need every single day. Please reconsider taking support away from our most vulnerable students at the primary school and at the intermediate school. Thank you.
Real quick about MTSS because I have other things I want to talk about. As an educator, a primary school, not our primary school, but a primary level educator, I know the importance of early intervention. Taking our MTSS teachers away is going to be detrimental to all students. That there's no other discussion about it. It's an unacceptable solution. Be creative, find a different solution. Okay, 4.2, this is on the bond refinance. I have these questions for you. Is this the same bond that was used for the statute-based sign that was $50,000 and the building wrap that was $18,000? And the top has to have a lot to say. If so, shouldn't the district just not spend it at all and then they don't have to pay it back or refinance? If this is the case that it is the same bond, this is mismanagement of our money when we are so far in debt. Why not get the money back if possible? 4.3 budget overview. This is the MTSS. Already spoke what I think about that. Unacceptable. We are reviewing tax millage. We are in this board to vote to put it up for a referendum, which means raising taxes more than the allotted amount by the state or federal government. I'm not sure. I apologize. I'm not an expert in tax millage. But what I do know is anticipate indicated this board will vote no on a tax referendum in name of not ever raising taxes in Chartiers Valley. This issue with taxes could have partially been resolved when they had the opportunity last month to accept an agreement with Providence Point that would have brought in more income. The agreement would have changed Providence Point's tax payments from $90,000 a year to $420,000 a year. Sounds like a couple teacher salaries to me. Our solicitor actually recommended that the board vote to accept this agreement, which they did not. The board voted it down, stating they wanted more money from Providence Point and potentially go to litigation to get more tax revenue from them. Litigation costs money to the district and could potentially lead to not getting any more money from Providence Point. HR reported the resignations were on the agenda for the last meeting. Why was it not discussed or addressed that 2 administrators were resigning? Specifically, it is alarming that we have had 3 people in administration resign in a 6-week time frame. Superintendent Dr. Venata, Director of Transportation Stephanie Richards, and Director of Facilities Ryan Snodgrass. The board is creating a toxic work environment full of intimidation, harassment, and bullying, which is most likely going to produce even more resignations. Hiring a consultant for transportation position. What is the hiring process for this? And the last one that I want to make sure I get to is the 7.29 CHC Enterprises. Pete Kellinger, I apologize if I mispronounced it, CHC was an employee of CV 2 decades ago and has a known issue with the district. There is documentation that the district has on this person that he should not be hired again. He's also a friend of Jeff Chora. All of my other notes were passed around. You can read them. Thank you.
Yes. There's a note about that in my things too, about how that came to be. You may look at mine.
Wait 1 second. Yes, the construction manager is a friend of mine. I was on this board back in the 90s. We had a construction manager here who was superintendent back when the fire. He was a terrible construction manager. Our maintenance director passed away. Bernie Sikowski, probably one of the best superintendents I've ever worked with in 45 years. I've never met anyone better. He brought Pete Callinger in. The man saved us a fortune. He saved us a fortune. We hired him back this time. We got rid of the construction manager that should have been fired a year ago, what he did to the school district. Pete Callinger made his money 10 times over in the last month by just working here. So, you need to get your information straight.
Well, that's not what I've been told.
Well, what you've been told is wrong.
I was told there's reports of physical altercations.
You were told was wrong. He saved us so much money back in the 90s. It was ridiculous. He managed a $15 million bond issue with 2 change orders. 2. That's never been done before.
I'm not going to comment anymore because that's not how a professional board runs their meetings.
I'm just answering your questions. I'm just trying to make it right.
First, Steve Anderson, appreciate you up here, valuable thanks for your comments and information. I appreciate it. I do think there's just, I just want to say something briefly, I hope to the community and to the board. My hope is that we are all here trying to make Chartiers Valley the best school district. I would like us to be better than some of our friends and neighbors that are next door to us in South Head, Countyville, etc. We need to do some things probably a little bit differently, and I agree with everybody here that's been said. If I think back to my educational experience, I can name my kindergarten through 5th grade teachers without even thinking of blank beyond that. Sorry for all the folks out there in high school, middle school, but when you spend 8 hours a day with somebody, the impact that those people make upon your life is insurmountable. They change the direction of people's lives, and that's why many of us have chosen to live here in CV. It is a choice. I would just say, our hope is to make do that, it costs money. I worked in higher ed, there's three ways to get money. The state's primarily giving us more money. You either increase your student population, or you increase tuition. Here's similar, you gotta look at it. The state's primarily giving us more money. We know we're getting more students, but here it's houses, what does that look like? And then we have to raise taxes to be able to provide the services, not take away services. If we're taking away language from students, if we're taking away special teachers, the students need the help, make the bridge the gap from the impact of COVID, we need to start thinking about how we do these things. And then I would agree, we need to decide what are our big rocks, because of Stephen Covey. We got to identify what are our big rocks, and I hope that God is impacting our children, impacting their education. The other things that are on the periphery, we ought to be really thinking those are our small pebbles. Figuring out how are we doing those things and funding the things that we need to make an impact in our students' education. And I really hope that we look at that. If it's increasing taxes, like, look back to George Bush, I get it, maybe he didn't get reelected, but you gotta do those things that you need to do when you know what the right thing is that needs to be done. And if we need more funding to help our schools, then we should be looking at how do we get more funding to help our schools and provide the resources that our teachers need to supply our students, and if our class sizes are getting too big, et cetera. I really would implore the board to really think about that, figure out how we can be the best version of student we can be. Thank you.
Heather, Suanna Statico, 1595 Missouri Avenue, Brickville. Sorry for sounding a little late, I didn't read. These are just a few facts from the 2022-23 school year to the 2023-24 school year. The primary school lost through attrition an MTSS teacher. MTSS teachers serve our neediest student population and provide interventions for reading to keep them on grade level. With 4 teachers, we were able to serve 14% of our student population. At 3 MTSS teachers now, they're down to 12%. If we eliminate one more and only have 1 MTSS teacher, we will only be able to meet the needs of 4% of our student population. A typical MTSS model has 80% of kids at Tier 1, 15% at Tier 2, and 5% needing the most support at Tier 3. Our MTSS teachers are meant to service Tiers 2 and 3. If this is the way that our district is trying to save money, it's not the right way. Sacrificing reading and math, where our foundations of learning these subjects are absolutely necessary building blocks for every single subject area that follows them for the rest of their school years, careers, and lives. K-3 is where you learn to read. After that, you read to learn. If you don't have a strong foundation in the first place, you will never succeed. Thanks.
Okay, I already said that I'd like to announce that we had an executive session prior to this public meeting to discuss personnel. Recognitions.
We've got some exciting recognitions this evening, starting with the middle school Odyssey of the Mind team, who I believe there are several members here of the team, am I right? You guys mind standing up for them?
thing I would like to update the community on, the board of directors wishes to thank everyone who participated in the focus group conversations on Tuesday, April 16th, and Monday, April 22nd. The board heard the meetings were an excellent opportunity for thoughtful and dialogue. Mr. Templeton, our search consultant, who facilitated the conversations, will be providing us with more briefing so we can utilize the results of these discussions in the assessment of candidates. We are confident some of this information will make its way into the development of goals and objectives for the superintendent evaluation process. I'd like to thank everyone for participating. And just to outline the process going forward, the application deadline is this Friday, April 26th, 2024. Interviews will be conducted shortly afterwards, and a selection of candidate will occur either at a separately scheduled board meeting or during the next board meeting, which is on May 14th, to permit that individual to give notice and begin at Chartiers Valley before the start of the 2024-2025 school year. Thank you very much. Continue to support.
We have our student representatives here tonight.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and today I'm excited to share with you some success and recent events within the district. So first, at the end of March, students and staff came together from all of the buildings to organize a successful celebrate CV and this community event showcases a wide variety of activities and achievements throughout all the grade levels. Then earlier this month, the community school also put on their show. The Adams family did a great job. Congratulations to them. The show band also recently traveled internationally to Toronto, Ontario, with the incredible opportunity to perform in downtown Toronto, where they also got to visit plenty of tourist sites and experience the city. There have been numerous student achievements recently as well, and some of them are as follows. High school students Mila Shiva and Rael Wilshire earned the Harry W. Pizzotto Memorial Community Service Scholarships awarded by the Rotary Club of Bridgeville, South Fayette. Additionally, a group of students from the high school, led by Mila Shiva and Avalon Armfield, took part in the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society's 2024 Student Visionaries of the Year program, where their team was able to raise $23,606 during their campaign for the cause. Students Grace Janko, Gabrielle Bowd, and Desiree Weinberg also received certificates of merit from the Society of Women Engineers for their outstanding accomplishments in math and science. At last week's chorus concert, Senior Paris Page was awarded the National Choral Award, and congratulations to all of these students on their achievements. And for upcoming events, the CV Theater is looking forward to hosting their annual Performing Arts Showcase titled Places Please over May 9th through the 11th. Tickets are on sale now at cvtheater.ticketbeat.com. And that's all I have for you this evening. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the community. This month has been a very busy month for athletics, as the sports seasons are well underway with 1 month left to go. To begin this month, 2 of our CV hockey players, Noah Callender and Matthew Fulbert, were named the Post-Gazette Stellar 6 hockey team. Next, Brendan Hallisey placed second in singles section tournament for boys tennis. In addition to this, Brendan and his partner Sakage placed second in section doubles and will go on to compete for the Woodfield Doubles Championship tonight for 23. Last week, Ethan Ridgway pitched a perfect game for the varsity baseball against Woodland Hills. Next, the softball team has been having a very successful spring season. There have been multiple games where players have hit 4 to 5 home runs per game. Lily Dutch, one of the girls from the softball team, was nominated for the Max Preps Player of the Week and was also nominated as the SB Live National Player of the Week. To close this evening, we are going to lacrosse, where junior Mallory Legamba scored her 100th career goal, and junior Abel Brzezinski notched her 100th career assist. Great job. This is all I have to report for this month. Thank you for your time this evening.
Yes, Mrs. Francis. I'd like to introduce 2 guests tonight from Piper Sandler. Chris Shelby and Randy Frederick will do a presentation to the board on refinancing our 2015 A and B bonds.
Hello. My name is Randy Frederick. I represent Piper Sandler. With me tonight is Chris Shelby, Managing Director of the Pittsburgh office. We're here to discuss an opportunity for the Chartiers Valley School District. We have represented Chartiers Valley in the past, and we always do an annual review of debt for each district we have represented, and we have done that with Chartiers Valley. We were happy to represent Chartiers Valley because it is a very valuable school district in the Pittsburgh area, and to represent Chartiers Valley is an honor, and we appreciate it. It's always been well respected, and we take that very seriously. With that, we have looked at the outstanding indebtedness of the school district, and we always, present to the board and administration any opportunities that may be beneficial to the school district. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Chris Shelby, who is going to discuss it in more detail.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening. I'm Chris Shelby, who we just mentioned. Yeah, we're here tonight, and just to give the audience a general idea, we're looking for ways of distributing the existing debt of the school district so that it opens up operating revenues immediately to the district. And by that I mean, because this is very important, the debt of a school district, all school districts, is under federal law from the perspective that debt can only be paid off over a period of time that is equal to or shorter than the useful life of what the debt was used for. And that's to say, in 2015, the 2015 A and B bond series, the A series actually refunded the 2004 bond issue, which refunded the 2000 bond issue. And when you refund bonds, you typically are going to save money. Interest rates have gotten lower and you save money. But you have to go back to the original debt to identify the facilities built by that debt and know that you have to stay within the useful life of those facilities if you're going to rearrange the debt. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that there is a period of time associated with each of your debt issues that is kind of the boundaries of how far it could go. It could have gone further when it was done, but it wasn't put out. And by further, I mean a longer maturity period, a longer debt repayment period. It's kind of like your home mortgage. If you take a 15-year home mortgage, your payment might be $1,500 a month. But if you go for a 30-year home mortgage, which you'll get because they know your house will exist for 30 years, you'll probably pay about $900 a month. So you're going to reduce your payment and distribute the payment over a longer period of time. Why that's relevant to a school district is because useful life means that everybody in the district that is paying for that bond issue is sharing in the expense of that bond issue as they live in the district. Which is to say, putting it simply, that if you did a 10, 15-year bond issue because you wanted to pay off the debt sooner, everyone who moves into the district in the 16th year gets a So what we're talking about here is obviously within the existing federal constraints of how long your debt can be associated with any project that is built. That's just a little preamble. But in this case, in the two highlighted, the yellow highlighted, as Randy said, we've gone through all the debt of the district, and we're looking for something that might be able to provide immediate relief to this year's budget, to next year's budget, and allow you to do whatever over the next 2 or 3 years to plan for the following years. But the 2015A, which is the one on the left, highlighted, that was the Series A bonds, and they were issued originally in the year 2000. But as I said, they've been refunded several times. But in the year 2000, they were issued for the purpose of, well, for stadium and other associated physical structures within the school district. That would probably mean that they have easily a 30-year, possibly even a 40-year useful life. And by that, you know there's school buildings out there, yours have been all upgraded, but there's school buildings out there that have been, you know, that are still being used that are 30 and 40 years old in many of the school districts. But, you know, ultimately they're going to have to be addressed. But the useful life of the proceeds of the 2008 bond issue easily have a life. You can take that, the debt repayment out to the year 2030 or probably even longer. The Series B, which was also issued in 2015, was issued, and that was a $50 million issuance or thereabouts. And that was for the new middle senior high school. So obviously the facility probably we're in right now and the high school were built out of the proceeds of that in 2015. Meaning the useful life on that, since the construction probably took 3 years or so, would easily take you out beyond the year 2050. So back to that point I just wanted to make, and I'm not saying this is something that, this is what you should always do, but it does give you the wherewithal to redistribute some of the debt now into the longer years and give relief to you, the taxpayers, right now and next year, move forward from that point on. So these, the first page is nothing more than showing of the Series A of 2015. You see the thing, bond proceeds. We're only looking to, I think I said there was a $20 million bond issue or thereabouts at the time. That was $18 million actually. We're only looking to refund $3 million, $3.5 million of that bond issue that's remaining. And of the Series B bonds, which was originally about $50 million, we're only again identifying and refunding $3.6 million of those bonds because we're doing it to give and design relief to the district now. So I see we move to the next page. That's good. For the 2015A, so take it series by series. 2015A, the net debt service is on the second column in from the left. You can see it's 1.6 million in 24, 10, 15, 24. So that's a 24, 25 school year. And then the next payment, large payment, is 1.7 million, and that's for the 25, 26 school year. Well, we think what we wanted to do was move those payments out. And by that means you do a bond issue, just like you were refunding your home mortgage, take the cash, pay off these bonds, and replace them with the new bonds, but at a point in your debt structure that you have better ability to pay for it. So what you see on this first page, and I apologize because I know this is like freak a lot, but nonetheless, if you look at the net savings column, you'll see that if you were to restructure these two payments and move them out from 2024 to 2025 to the years 2029. If you look at the net savings column, you'll see that's where we put them in because they can fit there. And in 2030, the other payment goes there. If you go to the net savings column, second in from the right, you'll see that you currently have a tax structure that provides for the full debt service before we do anything. With the movement of these two payments, $1.555 million of new operating revenues already being collected in your budget for the next fiscal year, and for the fiscal year following that, you have another $1.5 million in revenues to be available. And again, I say operating revenues because the tax structure is providing from the full debt service, but since this is a reduction in debt service, that money then goes into your operating budget and it becomes available for other items. That's just part one of this deal. You see that we had to move those two payments out to 2029 and 2030. But you wouldn't have room in those 2 years for those two payments, but because of useful life, that would take this bond issue out 30 years. That you see the payments are in 2029, 2030. With that, we had to move bonds out of the 2000, the next, if we go to the next page, the 2015B series, which had bonds in those 2 years. And if you look under the 2015B on the second column in from the left, you'll see in 29 and 2030, you have two bonds that can be moved out to let these new bonds in. And the reason, again, is useful life. We're trying to accommodate the useful life of the bond issue, which is a federal test whenever you issue, and it's a legal test that, you know, it would be required and it would be completed to assure you that you're doing the bond issue structured legally. We move those two payments of the $1.8 million, the $1.9 million in the bottom of the second column in from the left, and we're going to move those out all the way down to 2050. And that's the third column. If you look at the bottom of the third column, you're going to see a payment of $3.8 or $6 million. But that's not until the year 2050. And that is still within the useful life of the facilities that were built by those bonds. So all you're doing is telling somebody in the year 2050, oh, guess what? You're going to have one more payment. It's not going to be higher than the payments that they were preceding to that. It's going to fit right in, but that's where it fits in. And it's still, the buildings will be utilized by the people that are moving in 2049. They'll just share in one more payment, and then the buildings are fully paid for. With that, I think I'd like to move to the next page, if we could. And I don't know if we can turn that page. Anyways, what it shows is that your existing debt service on the far right, the existing debt service without us doing anything for the coming year is at $5,006,000 for next year. And the year after that, $5 million. The year after that, $5,100,000. You see, it's the same payment every year based on the structure of your debt now. With this restructuring and just basically moving the debt from one point to another within a legal structure, your new payment, instead of being $5,006,000 next year and coming for the budget year that's being considered right now, it'll be $3.5 million. And that's the $1,400,000 to $500,000 reduction. That becomes an operating benefit to the district. The next year, your current debt service is $4,998,000, let's say $5 million again. But the following year, the following budget year, not this, the next one, but the one thereafter, will also, your no debt service will drop down to $3.5 million. I'm rounding, so please don't. And life of the bonds will be at basically $5.2 million per year. And it's that way every year. And even where we move those bonds into the last year, where you saw that big balloon payment, it fits into your overall schedule. And actually, the last year comes in at $4.9 million, being at 5.2. So it is important because the Department of Education and DCED, Department of Community and Economic Development, who review all transactions of this nature. You must have level debt service. You can't be going up. You can't make it smoke and mirrors like, oh, we'll do this now, but we're going to all have to pay it off, 10 years from now and have a big increase in payment. The payments will be absolutely consistent and level from this point forward, starting in the third budget year from now. And I don't know, Pat, if you got the last thing I sent over today. I don't know if you have the.
I did get it, Mr. Shelby, but it was too late to
Okay.
get to the board.
But I think it is in the board packet. I apologize to the audience. It's just a kind of reiteration of what we're showing here. And it's a bar chart. And I hope you each have that at probably the last page of your pamphlet. You can see the existing debt service is the gray columns. And this is just to show you. But you can see, I don't know if you can see this or not, but I hope you can. Where I have yellow highlighted, you can see the blue column is the new debt service, and you can see it reflects the $1.5 million reduction here and here, and then all the remaining debt service remains level, straight across the line. And again, that's a requirement of DCED, that it must be either level or declining. So it may not be the most palatable thing to move debt service around, but you never know. I will tell you absolutely, this is not the only school district that is considering this or that we have actually done this for over the last year. It is under great consideration throughout because I don't know if it's post-COVID, maybe some of the funds that were COVID-related are expended, everything, and now there's just a crunch going on. And it's not extraordinary for Chartiers Valley to be looking at this type of thing. But I think that's pretty much it. And we're here for any questions if you have them, or I hope that explained it somewhat.
A few questions. First, when you looked at our debt, any of the other debt have balloon payments since 2015?
No. The page that's on, kind of, we put it straighten out here, shows all of the debt issues of the school district, and it shows that the final, actually you already had a final payment on the 2021A bond issue of 2051. So your debt, the term of your entire debt is almost identical. We're just filling in at the end with this payment, but it's basically not really extending the debt at all, the overall picture. You can see you have 2015A, B, remaining outstanding because we're only refunding a portion of them. We aren't refunding them all because that doesn't make any sense. You have the 2016, 2021, 2021A. So that, you can see though, the longest of your debt is the 2021A, which does have, it looks like the last payments in 2051, for the budget year of 2051. And that's where you'll pretty much remain, even with this restructuring of debt.
Question is, I know you can't predict, but given your expertise, do you think by refinancing these bonds, our bond rating will change?
Well, the bond rating, it could, it may not. I'm certainly not saying it will. The bond rating is based on the credit, the standing credit of the school district. It is based on reserve funds and the maintenance of reserve funds. And if you go into reserve funds, that is probably red flag to the rating agencies. If this restructuring of debt helps avoid using reserves and dropping the reserve level, because the rating agencies are always looking at like an 8% reserve minimum, and they like to even see 10% of the budget, of the annual budget as a reserve. Let's say 7 to 10%, but anywhere in there is manageable. If you were to go into those reserves and drop them down, they just don't like that at all. They would much rather see you address your debt, restructure your debt, and hopefully stay within the same framework that your debt is already in, which I think is pretty much does.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes.
Are there any restraints on savings that we get in those couple of years for use of that money in the operating?
Yes, all of it.
So, would it be for anything you want?
Anything you
No,
want.
no restraints?
Right.
It frees up from your general fund.
For, yeah, the general.
So there,
fund,
yeah,
according
the
to
general
the
fund now
policy.
has a relief.
But it is, it by definition is really operating savings, and because it's operating savings, it reverts back to you for operating usage
Okay.
throughout.
There are fees that cost for refunding the bonds, is that set by state or?
That's set by us, by your bond counsel, by your solicitor, by your printing, by the rating agency. Those are all fees that on page 1 we estimated as cost of issuance under the uses, and we don't know absolutely that those are final, but we're always very close. We can't say exactly what everything's going to cost, but our firm does $14 billion a year nationally. In Pennsylvania, we're one of Pennsylvania's largest underwriters, and that is based on that knowledge. So I think you could.
And typically, we're conservative, so any funds that are left over revert back to the school district.
That's what I would.
Absolutely, yeah. And we're estimating the fees of course, bond counsel and solicitor, et cetera. We don't know what those fees are going to be, but there's some standards that we use.
Is this the perfect time to do this with the interest rates high? Is that why this can work like this?
Well, no, it is not the perfect time, but God knows what the perfect time is.
Well, the federal government is also talking about increasing
Raising them
rates.
again.
So this could,
So
I mean,
if
we
the-
can't say the
if
optimal time, but we do have an idea that rates are gonna.
But this is by most standards, is a very small restructuring. With only $6 million, $7 million being moved, it is, I mean, we've done, yeah, that's small by most of those standards. Not to say that it isn't big by any standard as well. But, yeah, but as Randy said, any excess from our estimates here simply goes back to, it doesn't go back to you, it just isn't expended to you.
Right.
You know?
So out of the three, with a little over $3 billion in debt, budget next year.
Our principal and interest is about $5 million.
Right on the, well, yes, 5,006,000.
But I'm talking about, to make ends meet, for next year.
Our budget deficit as of today, without making any changes, is $3.1 million.
Okay, 3.1. And then if you're going to remove the 1.5, then you would take 1.5 from the general fund from debt stabilization, to meet the budget and fix the following year, or, not to do something for the following year. But you're going to get another 1.5 again this next year, right?
Yes.
Charlie, is it 1.4 or 1.5?
It's, well, I
In
think we kind of
between.
rounded, it's 1.46, you know, and that number will change based upon the final interest rate. Let's just say it's between 1.45 and 1.5, and we'll just have to see with it.
You're right here.
The board also has to understand that once you decide to move, it takes a little while to get approval, lock in the rate. So we're talking 3 weeks or so to lock in those rates. And then you have to go, you know, once you lock in those rates, you know exactly what you're borrowing. That's locked in. Then you gotta wait another 3 weeks, 4 weeks to go through the State Department to get their blessing. So, but once you lock those rates in, you can count on it on your budget, where it is in capital.
Yeah, it would be, it's usually a 2-month, if we're asked to proceed, even tonight, which I know you can't, but if you did, just hypothetically you said, let's get started. We can get started on the documents. We prepare all the documents, and if the deal just goes away for whatever reason on earth, our preparation of all the documents is at no expense, period, and I'll go on record, to the board. But nonetheless, that's our job, it always has been, it's always the way we work. Yes, we prepared documents for bond issues that were halted, but that's just part of our life. But the important thing is that if we begin the process of preparing documents, it's about a 3-week process, if you told us to. And from that point on, and 3 weeks hopefully, then we arrange, and if interest rates, nothing's gone crazy in the market, that everything we've seen tonight is about the same, maybe even better, then we apply for a rating, because the rating would be something you have to pay for if we get it. But we don't get the rating until all the documents are prepared and we're within, say, probably within about 2 weeks of being able to sell bonds. So,
and we will be in constant contact with the administration to let them know where the market is. And if it explodes and it doesn't fit in to the school district's parameters, then you'll know not to do it, not to go for the rate.
So just to reiterate, this basically cuts our shortfall in half by doing this?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yes, Mrs. Trainer, borrowing this money, restructuring these bonds for 2 years would help the deficit.
Well, it would help it probably to the tune of $1.45 million each year. It would, yeah, it'd be something that you could actually enter into your budget if you were to enact this restructure.
No, here at that, say 3.2 million to make budget. Our financial situation, we're extremely behind the 8 ball here. And our avenues are very, very limited. If we do not do this, where are we going to get the money? We challenge the administration and the business office every month to try to find us money. We have to do something to make this budget. What does everybody think?
It's a no-brainer. Why would you not do this? It's just like you do with your household. You have to refinance to keep your head above water, and that's what you do. Why would you turn that away? What's the downside?
I know downside means different things to different people, but I don't think there's a downside because once, and if we were to enact this, everything's fixed. All your new debt service payments, just like the schedule, is fixed. You'll know what you're getting into from here to 2050, even though you're still in debt from here to 2050 anyways, whether you do it or not.
But the issue that I'm thinking about is that if we need anything in those years to take on more debt, that would be problematic unless you somehow are getting more income from other areas.
Well, that's for sure, and that will be the case whether you do this restructuring or not. Yeah, you're still at $5 million a year.
Right.
Any new requirements that you have to incur over that period will have to sit on top of this. The only difference is,
I mean, if this board raised taxes this evening, we still would not make budget.
I'd like to reiterate what Chris said earlier. You are not the only school district in this position. Whether it's the economy, whether it's funding from the state, feds, whatever. We have done this for numerous school districts to get them into this position. So, you know, you can't look at it as you are the only ones doing this. It's problematic throughout the state. It really is.
Which is like, say something on the question. Never, like, this kind of, like I said to him, like, different, like, we're just pushing it a little bit further down. But you have placed this within, like, a realm of you can pay it at that time, right?
Yes.
Like, looking at our other,
Yes, it takes in all of your existing debt into consideration. All the final,
better position to make that, whatever, 2030 or whatever time.
Right.
Right? Like, we've heard tonight of how many people spoke about cutting MTSS. So, the thing that I think many people don't understand, that I didn't understand before being on the board, is the bond money that some of these are in, it's very limited to what we spend on. We spend on capital improvements, but
Right.
I just hope that they understand that what you're saying is this would free up, put it in general fund. So we could use it to, and,
Yeah.
we wouldn't be so restricted on what we do.
No. That's right.
And most likely in, 2048 or 2049, when that balloon payment comes, they'll hopefully be building another building or doing something like that, and they'll roll that all in.
Well, here's something just, yeah, but to keep in mind, because this district probably will have some capital needs in 5 years, whatever. So how do we do it? 5 years from now, that'll be, let's say it's the year 2030. Your last payment's in 2051. You'll be able to do a 30-year bond issue then, as you have before. And after 2051, you can put all the principal of that new bond issue out there. So you will have room for new debt. The only expense you'll incur, say you need $20 million, and we'll just guess an interest rate of 4%. That'll be $800,000 a year for $20 million. That's what you will have to come up with, new revenues, because that $800,000 interest payment every year will sit on top of your existing debt. But when you get to 2051 and thereafter, all the principal that you now have $5 million already budgeted for can be paid off, and it'll pay off in 4 years. You'll probably have it paid off by 2055 at $5 million a year. That's how everything works. That's how your debt has worked in the past. It's called wrapping around. You take on the interest charge, but you put the principal out. And again, that's back to the useful life thing. That principal must be paid within the useful life of the project that it is funding. So, if you're resurfacing a parking lot, you might not have a 30-year useful life. But you still, but if you're building a building, yes, it's more than likely 30 years or even longer.
In other words, whenever your debt is paid off, the new debt you're already budgeted. It'll go to you for your new debt. So it really alleviates.
Yeah, it's not like you're closed out, that you can't, right now you're thinking, my gosh, we have a budget deficit, we're trying to get back on our feet with this, but, there is a light at the end of this tunnel, and every year, the light gets a little bit brighter because you now can wrap out another year. You could even wrap it out right now if you wanted to, and go out to the year 2055. We're seeing bond issues out to 2060 right now. It's amazing, I know.
So, Mr. President, what do we have to do to get this rolling?
Yeah, so just everybody has to agree, so they can start the paperwork. Yeah, he should start the paperwork, and then next month.
Right. I mean, we'll start with your acknowledgement of that. That, we don't require a motion, but as far as a resolution, that is obviously the business of the board.
Yeah, and then, hopefully we'll see you on May 14th, that's our next board meeting.
Okay.
That'll be fine, yeah.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Would it be the same time?
It'll be at 6:30 at the intermediate school.
Okay.
Our district office.
Yeah. Know where that is?
Yeah, we'll be able to lock everything in that evening.
But you will start on the paperwork as we pretty much.
We'll start tomorrow morning, and Pat will start tomorrow morning.
God bless you. She has a lot of work ahead of her.
She does, but we have Rosie, and Rosie and Pat team will knock it out.
Rosie will alleviate a lot of the stress.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. And by the way, in the packet is our cards.
Yes.
So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to call. We work as a team in our office. So call any of us, anyone that's there knows how your debt is being processed. So don't hesitate to give us a call.
Especially Rosie. Thanks again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Some people are saying it's really cold in here. Mrs. Conley, do you want to do it?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Mariano. This presentation tonight is a presentation on the Chartiers Valley School District 24-25 budget. We will not be presenting this as a recommendation. It's just the facts of our financial situation where we are now. The board will not vote on this tonight. The preliminary final vote will be on May 14th, first Tuesday, or first meeting of May, and the final vote will be the first meeting in June. When preparing this budget, we always keep in mind the mission and vision of our school district and our shared values. The mission of the finance and operations division is we support the achievement of the school district's missions and goals and objectives by providing the necessary services and information for sound decision-making and management of our district. I want to update the board on the 23-24 year-end fiscal update. It's still very early. Our schools there's still a lot of activity happening, but the facts are we do have a broad scope in our school district. The 23-24 budget this school year was a $76.5 million budget. We have 3,523 students. We issued 645 W-2s. Buildings, 4 buildings and 1 bus garage. 15 curricular areas, 22 sports across the high school and middle school, 19 budget managers who helped put this together. This is not just one person doing this. We truly work as a team, and we present that to you tonight. We have 55 clubs and activities. We have federal programs, athletic fields, the stadium, Woodfield. We're also involved at Webfield and Collier. We have 68 school buses, 5 other vehicles, and 2 outsourced contractors, helping us with transportation to and from school every day, and athletics, and field trips, and activities that our students participate in. Our food service operations, $1.9 million. We have 30 employees, and we outsource management services to the nutrition group. So that's the scope of our school district. You heard from the auditors in February. Our fund balance did go up between fiscal year 21-22 and 22-23. We were at 6.8 million. We are now at 7.1. The fund balance has 3 buckets. Non-spendable, which is it's committed, is 733,000. Other post-employment benefits, which is also committed, which is at 1.4. And our unassigned is 5 million. That is our district's liquid savings. We also have 2 other funds called debt stabilization and capital reserve. So in this slide, I'm trying to show the board where these funds were in terms of audited and what they're projected to be at the end of the school year, or fiscal year. You're gonna hear a lot of terms about audited, that would be, we do have a projected budget deficit in 23-24 of 1.25 million. This budget was adopted with the use of this fund, because we were expecting this. We are still doing everything we possibly can to save money and to cut back and to use our resources as wisely as possible. But the projected fund balance as of June 30th is going to be 2.1 million. Capital reserve was audited at 970,000. The projected use is about $500,000 for this year, and we're going to transfer from the general fund immediately $323,000. That is the difference between the fund balance from the prior year audited, that's the increase we had at the end of 22-23. We should always be looking at our capital reserve. It also has a budget. This year's budget was $487,514, and next year's budget is going to be $487,514. That pays for the existing capital leases or loans, principal and interest for our buses, vans, and other district vehicles. So fund balance wrap up is this. Our unassigned fund balance should be 5 to 8% of our expenditures. For CV, our fund balance is 6% of our budget. Capital reserve is dangerously low for a district our size. We truly need to save for capital reserve for unforeseen emergencies, planned capital projects, bus and van replacements to our fleet, and capital equipment replacement. So if a boiler goes down, we will have money in capital reserve to replace it or repair it. At our last meeting, we had a great report from the nutrition group. They are a third-party food service management company. We are seeing surplus, projected surplus this year of $163,000, and we have a guarantee surplus for next year of $131,000. Any profit from our food service must stay in the food service fund. There's been significant legislation that has helped this fund in our program greatly, and that is universal free breakfast for all students K through 12, and reduced eligibility patrons. We will now be reimbursed as a free lunch or breakfast. So things that we've done with the money, the savings that we have in this fund, so we used to be deficit. We can only have a percentage saved in this fund. We had to do major maintenance on our walk-in freezer, and they're working perfectly now. We have maintained our equipment, which we have to do because this equipment, industrial, commercial ovens, other kitchen equipment is very expensive. And we also applied for 2 equipment grants. We have not heard yet, but we're going to have, we applied for an ice maker and a pincher oven, which is a pizza oven. So now I'm going to update the board on the 24-25 budget. This is something that we have been working on since, it's almost been 2 years, because we have to plan for the future. The budget issues we face is inflation. Limited millage, the 24-25 Ackerman index is 5.3%. We expect the budget to give us flat funding in basic ed and special ed. That has to be passed by both the House and the Senate, and they are now split in terms of support. Our healthcare increase is a fact. It's a 9% healthcare increase. Dental was 5%. Later in the presentation, I'm going to give you an idea of what those numbers really look like. 9% of what? It's 9% of $25,000. It really adds up. Software licenses have increased. Supplies and education costs continue to rise. Our English language learners population continues to rise. And the tuition cost for outplacements is significant. Students at special education, we have to pay charter school tuition and Parkway. Continuation of the budget issues we face, 6 66% of our teachers are at the highest step, step 18. The master step 18 is $119,332 next year. We did negotiate and work with CDFT on an early retirement incentive. 5 applied. We did not achieve the 25 needed, and it is not cost effective to only offer it to 5. We have committed expenses. You heard from Mr. Shelby, debt service is a committed expense. We have loans for our property. So committed expenses and debt service, school infrastructure and utilities, technology, safety and security, self-operated transportation department, a food service program. We have committed expenses towards all employees' retirements, legal fees, insurance, collective bargaining agreements. These are the things that we say first. We have to, because it's committed when we are building our budget. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our proposed expenses. This is where we are today. We are still trying to work with budget managers. We're still getting information from the state about revenues. But as of today, proposed expenses are as follows. The state categorizes our expenses in these 9 buckets. Salary and benefits is 76% of our budget. The other 24% goes in all of these other services, and these are the budgeted expenditures. So we're very heavy on salary and benefits. Most school districts are. When Mr. Shelby was talking about debt service, that's what you see down here. They are very big buckets as well. 800 and 900. That's almost $5 million. That is our debt service for our bonds and other loans that we have for vehicles and technology. The other big one is other purchase services, 6.6 million. That supports our budget. Contractor transportation is in there as well. So this is just a repeat of that slide. I'd like to give the board a visual of where we are in the pie. And I won't repeat myself, but the biggest parts of the pie are salary, benefits, and debt service. I'm going to be going into the departmental budgets very soon, later on in the presentation. But this is a snapshot of each departmental or school budget. Our preliminary shortfall is $3.1 million. Over here, it goes by department or school. It's not in alphabetical order, it's in numerical order. Oh, the primary school's not even on there, but sorry, that got cut off. But it's 18.8 million, and then salary and benefits is 60 million, which brings us to the $79.6 million projected expenses. So that's our shortfall, 3.1. Our revenue, I'm going to get into next. Our revenue projection is 76. So that's how I'm coming up with the 3.1 shortfall. So let's talk about proposed revenues. Every school district has 3 buckets. Local revenues that are local taxes. We analyze the history of each year so that we don't overinflate. The county gives us all of the property values. It's a very simple formula in which we apply the millage on those property values, and then we have to make assumptions. The assumptions are, is everyone going to pay? What would our collection rate be? The other assumption is now the common level ratio. How will that impact our revenue? And it does impact us. State funding is pretty flat. We get funded for basic education and special education, some for transportation, and we always get a Ready to Learn block grant. This year, we're also getting some extra funding for safety and mental health. The title money and basically federal funding for our school district is generally flat each year. So this is how that pie shapes up. Local funding is 74%, state 25%, 1%. 72% find these from local real estate taxes. So out of that 74, 72 is local taxes. Things we don't know today, for the 24-25 budget. Retirements. There still could be some retirements that come in. Legislative approval of the state budget for basic ed and special ed funding. That could be bumped up. That would be good for our school district, but it's not going to be anywhere near the tune of $3.1 million. Maybe $100,000 and $200,000. Collective bargaining agreements. We are bargaining right now with Chartiers Valley Support Personnel Association. They represent the Facilities and Transportation Department. That contract ends on June 30th, 2024. And the common level ratio revenue impact is pretty significant, and we have to budget for that. That is when the property owners does a tax appeal because they feel they're paying too much taxes, and the common level ratio is then applied to within that appeal process. Let me give you some data that have never been to the board on the common level ratio. In 2020, this gives you from the bottom up the history of our tax refunds over these fiscal years. Starting in 1920, that was the year of COVID-19. The appeals were $19,493. We did see a bump in 2021 to 141, but then it's pretty steady. As soon as that CLR hit in 22 or 23, 24, went from 81 to 63.5 to the current 54.5. We are to date in 23-24 fiscal year, which ends June 30th, we have paid out $522,000 in tax refunds, real estate refunds. Projecting $700,000 for 24-25. That could be adjusted by the next budget presentation that I do. And it will be budgeted up. It's not coming down. This is a closer look of the different buckets of our revenues. This all adds up to $76 million. This slide shows the compounding effect of tax increase. So this year, the Act 1 index is at an all-time high. It's at 5.3%. Last year it was 4.1. The year before that it was 3.4. This gives a school district the maximum capacity to raise millage. If we were to raise millage to 5.3% and then subtract that $700,000 that we would lose in tax refunds, we would be only seeing an increase in revenue of $2.5 million. I said our shortfall was 3.1. But if we don't raise taxes, we never gain that tax back, and then that compounds over the years because hypothetically, the property values increase each year, so that 2.4 becomes 2.6 the following year, 2.75 the following year, 2.89. So after 7 years of not raising taxes in 1 year, there's a cumulative effect of 17.9 million. That's that number here. So without tax increase, we're sitting at 3.1 million. This presentation does not include any of the information that Mr. Shelby presented tonight and that we will be working on a bond refinance. We will get 1.45 million from that for 2 years. After that, it's back to the way it was. It's a 2-year relief. But let's say the board decided not to consider that option. Our budget deficit today, and we're still chipping away at it, is 3.1 million. We would probably take 50% of the general fund and 50% of that from the debt stabilization fund, which would bring those two funds down in as of June 30th, 2025, to this is just a projection, down to 3.4 to $500,000. Then, that 3.1 following year, because we have structural deficit, it doesn't go away. It doubles. It's 3.1 million plus another 3.1 million plus inflation, so I'm projecting 7.1 million. So we would then deplete general fund and debt stabilization fund, and the projected deficit would be 3 million. And then we have no options. There are no callable bonds after this refinancing. There are none. We would be, and let me also say, this would be as if nothing else happened. There would be no retirements. There would be no hires or anything like that. So it's just a picture. We know it's a little bit fluid, but we would still have significant debt.
To look at 2024, 2025, you know, we show a $3.1 million deficit. If the numbers bear out, which let's just say it's 1.5. So that will get from all the balance left. You could take some from the general fund and some from the debt stabilization.
Yes, definitely. We're very fortunate to have savings. Okay? Speaking of bond issues, I also always update the board on the district bond issue of $17 million for construction. As it was stated earlier, those funds can only be used for construction. That they cannot balance our budget. We borrowed that money for a specific purpose. And those purposes are exterior and interior lights, which were not touched during the high school renovation and middle school new building. And we did complete a roof and an HVAC program at our primary school. Those jobs are closed, and $2 million of our ESSER money supported the HVAC program. So that was excellent.
I hate to look at it from time. So the grant that you applied for the roof of the IS, when are we going to work with it?
We're still writing it, Dr. Mariano. It's not due till May 31st. So we are writing it. We will definitely, we're trying to submit it by the middle of May. We hope to know this summer.
So we'll know this summer.
It's a competitive grant, and we should know something this summer if we're awarded it. So May 31st, it'll take at least 60 to 90 days. So, this is not a recommendation. These are just the numbers. If the board, if there was an let me back up. This is just a recommendation of what a 5.3% tax levy would look like. The board did approve in December that there would be no tax increase above the index. Our current rate is 0.0201909. If there was a full tax increase, it would increase to 0.212610. The revenue gain, as I stated earlier, is 2.48 million, and that is less the CLR. We have to consider that when we're budgeting. This is just a slide of which it shows examples of what the new tax would be based on home values here on the left-hand side. So, home values ranging from $130,000 to $500,000. The current millage, or current tax base is here. So, a home value of $130,000, they pay $2,625 in taxes. If these taxes are raised, that homeowner would pay $2,763.93. a difference of $139, which is $11.59 per month. Okay, that's per month. And so on down the road. We have some homes that are lower than 130. We do have homes that are higher than 500. But this last column shows the monthly tax increase if there was a full, to the homeowner, if there was a full tax levy. And this is where our district falls right now in Allegheny County. This is a listing of school districts in Allegheny County, and it's sorted by millage, highest to lowest. We are the 8th lowest millage in Allegheny County in 23-24. This is our budget timeline. So as I said, we're not voting tonight. You are not voting tonight. I'll do another preliminary update on May 14th. At that time, we will vote on the budget. That budget will be on public inspection for 20 days. There will be another vote, which will be the final vote, on June 15th, and then it has to be submitted to the Pennsylvania Department of Education by June 30th. So those are the numbers in terms of the budget. But there's a lot of information that is analyzed to get these numbers. And Mrs. Francis will be talking about those numbers now. Shelby?
So you're saying like 60 to 90 days, right? So would that be able to fit this timeline so that make it really possible to approve it?
We'll make an assumption that that bond will go through and then, and can be approved by the board. And we will make assumptions in the budget presentations going forward and in all of the information we display to the public that are, it's not money coming in. It just increases our payments so that we're not moving it, we're just decreasing our payment. So it's sort of like, it's just like at home, you're remortgaging and you have $1,000 payment now, you're gonna, well, we only have to pay $600 once we get done with the bond reissue. So it's not actual revenue, it's decreasing our expenses. Our expenses in debt service will be decreased for 2 years by $1.4 million.
So it would be possible to be the final vote.
Yes. Yeah, this is gonna be first thing in the morning, call them, we're gonna get started on it. And it's just like any other loan that you take, it's a lot of paperwork.
I should have asked them my husband. Instead of thinking about the last mistake, it was actually, I thought, like, they typically, like, that's something we should.
There would be, yeah, blessing the state is pretty much state approval because the state cannot allow a school district to borrow money for no reason. I mean, it's controlled by the state so that we're not doing this every year. And I see no reason, it's 100% legal. Mr. Weiss has reviewed all of the information. He's not our bond counsel, but he's reviewed it and it is legal to do this. Okay. So behind all the numbers comes a lot of thought, and Mrs. Francis is going to talk to us about scheduling and how we got to the numbers that we saw here today and that you will see going forward.
So this is talking through where we are with the health of our finances in the district. I'm here to talk with the board and share with you the impact that looks like on the health of our education in the district and the impact specifically on scheduling. But I do want to start to share the current enrollment trends, which I know we've talked about before. But we have seen an increase in enrollment across Chartiers Valley over the past specifically 6 years I looked at. It's approximately 240 students that we've gained in the class
So just that's an overview of the district, and I also wanted to look at each of the buildings to give that view as well, what that looks like at the primary school, at the intermediate school, at the middle school, and at the high school. And those are our numbers as of this year. And again, those numbers include the new students, the gain students, and we consistently are gaining students across the district each year.
Yes. Standing room only.
6 years ago.
Did they look at that when they look at these buildings? That's a scary problem.
I wish I had the answer to that question right now with the board. That is something I'm going to do, if you'd like me to, and do that.
I mean, I'm not advocating
Investigation.
So other factors that influence scheduling, obviously student enrollment we talked about, special education, our English language learners, what that looks like. But we also have contractual obligations that hit our scheduling needs, ensuring each of our teachers across the district have prep periods, that they have their lunch period, common planning time, and professional planning time, and specifically at the middle level, their team planning time. So we have to ensure we create our schedules that we meet those needs. We also want to look at, may not be a contractual obligation to have duties for teachers, but we do need those duties to ensure the safety and security of our students in the building. So the students are properly monitored during lunch, in the hallways, at the doors for arrival, as well as during dismissal. And then another factor that just recently came into play is another one of those unfunded mandates, and that's a new law where our special education students in Pennsylvania can continue their education until their 27th birthday. So for a look at what that means for us in Chartiers Valley, we anticipate 4 students next year remaining in the district, who will have graduated this year with an estimated additional cost of about $220,000, So all of those factors come together and are very intentionally and strategically aligned to meet the curriculum needs, our student needs, as well as the available staff in our building.
So the state comes up with these regulations, they want to give us the money.
our charge to service all of the students of the district. And to kind of make a decision to work together to find ways to move forward. I think Mr. Anderson at the beginning said, oh, we're trying to make a better CV. And to do that, we need to work collaboratively and create and cultivate a district-wide learning community where all employees and educators are valued. So, just asking that we continue to center ourselves on these shared values as we make decisions, and not let our business decisions be in conflict with our education decisions. That there is a way that they can come together, and perhaps, you know, with the help of our entire CV community, we can think of ways that we haven't maybe thought of to move forward in a positive way. So just asking my colleagues, let's recenter ourselves on these shared values and make sure that this is what's driving the decisions and the conversations we make. And hopefully, when we land on that new superintendent, that they too can be centered on this, and we all be working together for a better CV. Because we continue to I mean, to have added 240 students over 6 years, that's healthy. That's even after COVID. So we're doing something right. Let's just keep doing that. Just thank you. That was just a point to make.
I agree, that's kind of what I, you know, not charging anybody with like, why didn't you accept, you know, no, not to you, I'm sorry. You know, just saying like, as a teacher myself, an educator, I know the values of CSS, and like you said, like that, it's been the first step in trying to intervene before they get to that level of losing, you know, so I just, that's where my thought is, that I don't want to sacrifice the kids, and, you know, keeping that in mind when we make a decision, that should be given a consideration and decide where, if we have to, you know, the squad refinance, we can just be more creative about moving things and making decisions, but I feel like that's, consider that for our kids, they should be the ones. The other ones.
Anybody else have any other questions? Okay, we'll move on to the solicitor's report.
I do not have to report.
And on to the informational agenda. Anything from Jazz this evening?
Just that we are having luncheon at Saturday, or breakfast. We saw the beta student, and hopefully we'll have some more to share out about that. That's it,
Pathfinder School?
Yes, well, we met last Wednesday, getting this, report, so it's really important, help with the minutes. But they're, trying to build a century room, costing between $35,000. So they're starting a Century Globe fund run, which is a fundraiser. They've raised a third of their cost. It is continuing to give this one individual $10,000, person $15,000, and then raise it to run. So they plan on making a yearly thing to help raise those funds. April is Autism Acceptance Month, and the staff's wearing blue for Autism Month. They had a cultural appreciation day, and one of the Pathfinder board members brought in, he's Ukrainian, and brought in produce for all the staff and students. Earth Day, they wore green and blue. They had administrative professional secretary day, so they thanked all the administrators said was a lateral move. He's gonna be over all the principals through the schools. We have new ones. So they're looking for a principal, it's Pathfinder, if anybody's interested. So the principal, where's Jay? They're not waiting. Where's Jay? And then they had a little tournament of books, and the winning book, Shannon Prime, WPA, came out and read the book to it. So, busy month. That's my report.
Alligator review?
Yeah, we have the results of the elections. 3-year positions went to Ms. Blakey Tate, Ms. Minnick, Mr. Paris, and Ms. Stepnick. The 2-year position went to Dr. Ford, and a 1-year position to Mr. Portazzo. We also had a presentation from the department that deals more with teacher support and curriculum support, and they were looking at how they can be collaboration across divisions, which might be my theme here tonight. So they highlighted working as a team. They also mentioned that they have developed culturally relevant text sets to center around equitable instruction. They will be meeting with curriculum directors and superintendents to provide those materials for other districts. We have, the AAU has a founding chapter of the Technovation Girls, which will be meeting here shortly, and Dr. Jacoby, who heads up those teams, was recognized as a woman in leadership. So anybody who's ever worked with Dr. Jacoby, realizes her impact in education, and that is greatly overdue. So that is my report.
Thank you, Doug. Yes, our graduation this year is held on May 5th in South Fayette School District. So graciously, they're going to hold the graduation this year. So we had it on tour the last few years. That's a very nice evening, starts at 6 p.m. Also, out of the 12 school districts at Parkway, we had 16 first place winners for the Skills USA. That's something like winning Whipple. So all of those 19 students will go to Hershey for the championship. Also, we approved administrative raises, and our own Dr. Darby Copeland from Parkway was chosen to go to the White House, one of the few executive directors in the whole state, to go to the job fair recognition and to pick his brain. Thank you.
On to action discussion. We have a motion to add to approve the board meeting minutes for March 12th, 2024, and March 26th, 2024.
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Ventura, may I have a second? Second by Mr. Olinger. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The motion passes. May I have a motion to approve the Chapter 339 Comprehensive K-12 Guidance Plan?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Montani, second by Mr. Churro. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The motion passes. May I have a motion to approve the All-State Orchestra travel request? Motion made by Mr. Olinger, may I have a second? Second by Mrs. Prince? No, Ms. Beans? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The motion passes. May I have a motion to approve the athletic department's Tap and Pay Plus fundraiser? Motion made by Mr. Olinger, second by Mr. Montana.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The motion passes. Ms. Conley, do you have something to state before we start the human resources report?
Yes, Dr. Mariano, will you please add Mr. Bill Douglas to the HR report as an appointment as our assistant voice star?
I'd like to amend and add to the agenda, as stated by Mrs. Conley, Mr. Bill Douglas. So can I have a motion?
Second.
Second by Mr. Oliver, second by Mr. Chora. Any discussion on this item? To the agenda, I need to give the public a chance to speak on Mr. Douglas. So if anybody wishes to speak, let us know. everybody's okay with this, human resources report, may I have a motion to approve parts 1 through 7 of the human resources report for the April 23rd, 2024 school board meeting? Motion made by Mr. Olinger, second by Mr. Chora. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? The motion passes. Okay, moving on to budget and finance. May I have a motion to approve Charles Smeezy Consulting to assist the overseeing transportation operations at the rate of $55 per hour, approximately 20 hours per week, effective April 15th, 2024 to August 31st, 2024, unless a director vacancy is filled. Motion made by Ms. Keen, may I have a second? Second by Mr. Olinger. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? The motion passes. May I have a motion to approve the donation of the weight room equipment from the Pittsburgh Steelers of approximately $75,000? Second. Made by Mr. Olinger, second by Mr. Chor. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? The motion passes. May I have a motion to approve the anonymous donation to the middle school arts program in the amount of $200? Motion made by Mr. Montani, second by Mr. Olinger. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? The motion passes. May I have a motion to approve the agreement with Collier Township for 2 school resource officers from January 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2026, in the amount of $16,215 per month for 2024 and $16,945 per month for 2025 and $17,622 per month for 2026. Motion made by Mr. Olinger, second by Mr. Montani. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? The motion passes. May I have a motion to approve the agreement with Scott Township for 1 school resource officer from July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2026, in the amount of $8,199.50 per month for 2024 and $8,445.34 per month for 2025 and $8,783.15 per month for 2026. Motion made by Mr. Olinger, second by Mr. Montani. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? The motion passes. May I have a motion to approve payments, including charter schools, in the amount of $8,169,801.12 from March 1st through March 31st, 2024. Motion made by Ms. Heen, second by Mr. Montani. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? The motion passes. May I have a motion to approve Sproul Mechanical to provide air conditioning services to the high school press box stadium in the amount of $8,200. Motion made by Ms. Heen, and a second. Second. Second by Mr. Chora. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? The motion passes. May I have a motion to approve the lease renewal of the EAU Head Start program at the primary school for the 2024-2025 school year in the amount of $10,320 from July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025. So moved. Motion made by Mr. Chor. May I have a second? Second by Mr. Bullinger.
Council,
Sir.
I have to abstain from this vote, so just stating that, since I'm on the ID board.
There's actually. So, that passes. Or no, the motion, okay, so all in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? No. Did anybody abstain?
I do.
Yes.
Abstain.
Just so you put that in. Make a motion to approve the agreement with the Allegheny Medical to conduct physicals and tests as ordered and needed by the district from May 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2026. Motion made by Mr. Olinger, seconded by Ms. Heen. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? The motion passes. May I have a motion to approve the agreement ESS Incorporated for contract and substitute services for the 2025 school year at a markup rate of 30.9% plus 100% coverage of frontline software fee of $16,372.33 and an up to 2-year extension. Motion made by Mr. Hollinger, may I have a second? Second by Ms. King. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? The motion passes. We have a motion to approve the beginning process of purchasing up to 17 vehicles under the National Sourcewell and CoStar's cooperative purchasing contract to be financed with a 7-year loan pending further details on cost and financing details, including interest rates.
This doesn't mean we are buying businesses, we are getting on the dock, correct?
Correct, but at some point, you're gonna have to buy some.
Some of that.
Yeah. Motion made by Mr. Ollinger, second by Mr. Montani. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? The motion passes. May I have a motion to approve the 3-year award for waste disposal services to Waste Management Incorporated at the annual rates of 2024-2025 of $46,926, 2025-2026, $49,741.56, and 2026-2027, $52,726.05, pending contract reviewed by our solicitor. Motion made by Mr. Ollinger, may I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. King. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? The motion passes. May I have a motion to approve a transfer of capital reserve up to $823,835. Motion made by Mr. Ollinger, second by Mr. Chor. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? The motion passes. May I have a motion to approve the appointment of Weiss, Burkhardt, and Kramer as delinquent tax collector? Motion made by Mr. Ollinger, second by Mr. Chor. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? The motion passes. May I have a motion to approve the payment of Novum Designs for window wraps at the high school that will face the stadium? The selected design was attached. Motion made by Ms. Haynes, second by Mr. Martinez.
I do have a quick question.
Oh, sir.
Do we know if, because I've been asked this, do we know if the windows are still going to be able to be open?
No, this is Trainer asking this. I would assume, because that would be a safety issue. I would think that, that everything operable would be operable. They're just on the glass.
That's what I would assume.
It's not on the frame.
Yeah, because if you look at this design, it's not on the frame.
Yeah, so it should, you should email or something.
So what's on there is not.
Pat, can you email him and then talk to us about the frame? It's not like this guy's gonna do this tomorrow. Yeah.
This is going to be the design.
Yes, it's the only design. They only put the design in the all in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? The motion passes. We have a motion to approve Parks and Associates and Common Ground in connection with the design work related to the concrete curb on the outside of the track as well as the electrical. This proposal is for the time and materials up to an amount not to exceed $20,000. Motion made by Mr. Hollinger, second by Ms. King. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? The motion passes. May I have a motion to approve the agreement with CHC Enterprises with the provision of maintenance supervisory services at a rate of $2,000 per month? Motion made by Ms. King, may I have a second? Second. Second by Mr. Shore. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? The motion passes. On to public comments on non-agenda items. Mr. Olin.
Anyone would like to speak on non-agenda items this evening? If you've signed in, you come to the podium, state your name, address, and 3 minutes.
First up is Mary Ann. Sorry, I can't read your handwriting.
I'm Mary Ann Blondie, 121 Delphia Drive, Collier Township. I want to welcome the new school board members. The reason I'm here tonight is our students. I am a past employee of the school district for 25 years. I work with Lisa Trainer. And my problem is the activity bus. I hear so many kids saying that they do not have a way home after late activities at night. And I have several children on my street who are in middle school that have been walking home after late activity. Now, we're taxpayers. We pay for those buses. And I think our children, to be safe, need to be taken home by the activity bus. And I know the reason why the activity bus